36 days now until the midterms, and several states can have a major impact on the balance of power. Remember, the first Tuesday in November, it's about the balance of power in Congress, but specifically, it's about the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. You need 51 for a majority. Right now, you're at seats needed at 6. 6 is the magic number Republicans need in order to take that majority. And Karl Rove, a former White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Senior Advisor to President George W. Bush, at home today in Austin, Texas. Karl, good morning to you. We've been doing this for, I guess we really started last week to put the what-if scenario into motion here. And what I want to show our viewers right now is something that you and many others have said for a long time. How do Republicans at a 55-45 pace right now, how do they get to those 6 seats? Well, Republicans, you have said West Virginia is already in the bag. Agreed? All right? And you said that South Dakota is already in the bag, and so too is Montana. So now you're at 48. So where do you go now to get the other 3 seats to get the majority? You could go to Arkansas, because some of the polling right there suggests it is good. You could go to Alaska, which the Republicans have said the polling is good for them as well. And at that point, you're at 50-50. So where else do you go? Is it Colorado? Is it Iowa? Or is it Louisiana? Or do Democrats possibly hold on to that seat, a 51-49 majority there? As you look at this map now, what do you see behind the numbers that's important to understand, Karl?
Well, 2 things. One is Republicans in the Real Clear Politics average now lead in 8 Democratic-held seats today. That would give the Republicans 53 in the Senate if they held on to their lead in all these races. We've seen that movement in the last couple of weeks be decidedly towards the Republican side. Iowa, Colorado, Alaska, a number of these states have moved. You're right. The Montana, West Virginia, and South Dakota, I don't think they're cooked. I think the Republicans lead, but they've got to run hard right to the end. But here now are the states that in the Real Clear Politics average, Republicans lead. 5-point lead in Louisiana and in the head-to-head between Cassidy and Landrieu, a 4.7% in Alaska, 3.6 in Arkansas, 2.2 in Iowa, and 0.8. As you can see, these are relatively close races, so nothing is settled in these, but the movement has all been in the Republican direction. Then we also have 3 seats now where the Democrats lead, but their lead has been narrowing. North Carolina, where they lead by 3.5. New Hampshire 4.5, Michigan 4.7 in the Real Clear Politics average. So we now have, 11 seats that are clearly in play. The Republicans lead in 8 of the 11.
So
and
when you were talking, I was following. All right. So I gave Republicans Colorado, I gave them Iowa, and the other state you marked down there on that polling that seems to do pretty well.
That takes Louisiana.
That takes you right now. Right. That takes you to 53-47 Republicans to Democrats. Right. But let's take those away just for the sake of argument, okay? We'll give Colorado to the Democrats. We'll give Iowa to the Democrats as well. What the Dems will argue is that Kansas right now is in play. And if they're able to beat Pat Roberts, you go 50-50 right now. Do you see that as a scenario at the moment?
Well, that's interesting. The Democrats say that they can win Kansas. They have an independent candidate there who's desperately trying to avoid looking like a Democrat. The last time Kansas elected a Democrat to the United States Senate was in 1932, which is why Greg Ullman, the independent, is desperately trying not to say anything about the issues. He won't say where he's on Keystone Pipeline, says he wants to do something to rein in guns, but won't say what, said he would not have voted for Obamacare, but won't vote to repeal it, voted for Obama in 2008, he says, voted for Mitt Romney in 2012. There are all kinds of ideological questions that this guy's going to face, some issue questions that are going to put him on the opposite side of Kansas voters. The other thing is he has a close tie to a Goldman Sachs board member who is going to the federal pen, and he's now having to explain why he had such a close relationship with this guy Gupta, who put him on the board of a tax haven company headquartered in the Bahamas and so forth. So look, that's why the polling in this race immediately after the Republican primary showed Ullman ahead, particularly when the Democrats withdrew their formal candidate, a local attorney named Chris Taylor. Okay, but now the race appears to be tightening. So, but you're right, though. It is the wild card. We'll see how it turns out.
It is, and it's too close to call. We really don't know. Do you believe that the candidates the Republicans have put up for office at this point have surprised the Democrats in the following sense. They've had to defend territory now that they probably did not expect maybe even 6 months ago. You agree with that or not?
Well, I think so. But look, let's put a cautionary note in here. The Democrats knew they were in for a tough battle. They did not take it for granted like they did in 2010. They'd hoped to play around in the Republican primaries and end up with some weaker candidates in places like Tennessee or Kansas or North Carolina or Alaska, and they didn't. Or New Hampshire, and they ended up with stronger Republican candidates than they expected. But this wasn't a question of total surprise. They were trying to limit the battlefield. They didn't succeed in that. The battlefield is broader than they wanted it to be, and the Republican candidates, particularly like in Alaska, have shown them some real surprising strength. And in the last 4 polls in Alaska since Labor Day, Dan Sullivan has led in all 4. Even in a place like North Carolina where the Democrats lead by 3.5, they have piled millions upon millions upon millions of negative advertising dollars against Tom Tillis.
It's worked for Kay Hagan against Tom Tillis. Listen,
no. It's reduced his number, but she's stuck at 45, 46, and he's now climbing back up. So, a long way to go yet
listen,
in the 30-some-odd days left.
Keep digging into your hat. We're going to check in with you every couple of days here. But I left the map at 50-50. I think it's that close, and I think you would agree. Thank you, Carl. Carl Rove, live in Austin. You got it.